With the ranks of villains being full of such weird and wonderful characters, it's only natural that the subject of unmasking them is one that will never not at least be a little bit exciting. And you know what? The more creative these reveals are, the better, which is what we're detailing today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 unbelievable times comic book villains were unmasked. Number 10. Black Mask. For a long time, the matter of who was behind Black Mask was not actually a major one, or one that provoked fan speculation. The villainous identity belonged to the sadistic crime lord known as Roman Sionis, and that was precisely as complicated as things tended to get. But after Sionis dies, another Black Mask appears, later revealed to be Jeremiah Arkham, and so the plot unsurprisingly begins to thicken. It's heavily suggested from this that the actual mask that Sionis and Arkham wear is somehow possessed, as Arkham seems to be actively controlled by the mask when it's on him or even near him. Whether we'll see the supernatural aspects of the mask be expanded upon at a later date is unclear, as this did take place in the New 52 reboot. But as far as fun and surprising unmaskings go, finding out it is the mask itself that is evil is a pretty dang good one. Number 9. Taskmaster. Seeing the Taskmaster unmasked is less unbelievable in the sense that it was in an unusual manner or he had a surprising real face under the mask, but in the sense that we have seen an adult Taskmaster without his mask precisely once. While this is in no small part down to the fact that Taskmaster's fighting prowess means that there was no chance of him being unmasked, this can be placed largely down to the fact that, for a long time, his skeletal mask was considered his actual face, which naturally means that it wasn't coming off. Writers often fluctuate on whether or not this is the case, with the exception of Daredevil number 293, wherein Daredevil visits a wounded Taskmaster in hospital and we're treated to the questionable reward of a full look at Taskmaster's face. It's unlikely to feel like a big moment out of context, but when you're fully aware that this is the only time such an event occurs, you can't help but feel like this is a little bit special. Number 8. Hush. Proving that there is not a single aspect of Hush's comic timeline stuffed to burst with the most wonderfully crazy events known to man, Batman Heart of Hush contains the villain taking off his bandage mask to reveal Bruce Bloody Wayne. It's completely surprising, yet in a way, it's also totally in character. As a master surgeon who is intensely jealous of Wayne's loving upbringing and prestige in Gotham, it makes complete sense that Tommy Elliott would combine these two traits in one way, by trying to replace Bruce. Elliott also does this neat plastic surgery trick to be Dick Grayson later on, but the impact of his initial transformation has all the more punch for just how unique and unexpected it is. Arkham City also uses this big reveal, and it only serves to highlight just how effective a good classic plot twist can be. Number 7. Deadpool. While Deadpool was no longer a villain by the time that his face was revealed, he is still worth mentioning in terms of unmasking, if only because there was such fan speculation over what he looked like under the mask as far back as his villainous inception in 1991. Deadpool stopped being a villain, but fans didn't stop being interested in his appearance under the mask until the somewhat gruesome initial reveal of the grim reality that is the character's wounded face. With this, we learn a crucial part of Deadpool's backstory, that he was afflicted with cancer before being given a healing factor, and so the ravages of the cruel disease still continually affect him. It's one of the few backstories to involve such an upsetting and real feature without feeling forced, and the emotional impact that it provided really did help make Deadpool feel less like a joke character and more like a well-rounded anti-hero who just happens to bust out jokes every other panel. Number 6. Bane. With the publishing of Bane Conquest came a surprisingly rare event, and that is the unmasking of Bane. While Bane has been known to go without the mask of his own accord, Conquest marks the first time that the mask was removed by another person, as Bane is beaten, demasked, and then thrown into a private holding facility to be tortured for secrets. All of this might not prove dazzlingly interesting, were it not for the fact that a certain demasked Batman was also in the same position. Having the pair interacting while unmasked makes for a substantially more interesting comic, as it's the pair having to deal with each other without any of the pretenses their respective costumes afford them. It's not a perfect comic or even a perfect characterization of the duo by any means, but seeing both hero and villain team up without the respective aliases really adds a special, unusual dynamic to the whole affair, proving that neither character is interesting just because of their sweet dramatic costumes. Number 5. Mysterio. With the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man series being often one of the more lighter Spider-Man comic series to date, it's likely that many fans weren't expecting to see Quentin Beck come back from the dead with a huge glaring wound. But this is exactly what is revealed to us upon Beck unmasking himself, unveiling the awful discovery that the self-inflicted gunshot he was rumored to have died by appears to have been a very real event. Given Mysterio is so notorious for creating illusions, it's fair to presume that this is yet another of the man's extravagant plans, but this appears to be the one genuine exception to that trend, as Beck's death and resurrection appear very much real. Not only does this make Beck's death feel more like a permanent event, it also served to make the plot considerably more interesting. Mysterio's new supernatural death state isn't permanent by any means, true to comics' revolving door of character death, but having the event have some kind of aftermath served to really drive home the impact of his former death. Number 4. Bushmaster. Just in case you needed slightly more evidence that Moon Knight is well and truly off the deep end, Moon Knight number 6 brings you the fight that proved to the Vigilante that he was out of order, starring one of the most gruesome unmaskings of all time, where he air quotes unmasks Bushmaster by ripping his bloody face off. It's exactly as brutal and awful as the description suggests, and is made all the more worse by the fact that halfway through, Moon Knight appears to realize how wrong what he's doing is, but still carries through with it until the nightmarish deed is done. The event serves to mess Spectre's psyche up even further, with him hallucinating the skinless Bushmaster as his continual companion. The imaginary Gorefest friend, while unnerving, does send the Vigilante a healthy reminder that he might be going too far, so at least there's some form of silver lining to this horribly gruesome event. Number 3. Doctor Doom. Of all of the dramatic reveals, perhaps the most unconventional is the reveal of Doctor Doom, who we have reportedly been told has been horrifically deformed under his mask, only for it to be revealed that his face is actually more or less fine. He has a gnarly scar on one side of his face, sure, but when compared to the facial scars like Deadpool or Two-Face, it looks more like a cat scratch than anything bad. This arguably creates one of the more interesting insights into Doctor Doom's character to date. The mixture of self-adoration and self-loathing that it would take to consider his wounded face too horrible to look upon is frankly insane, not to mention a sure sign that Doom's evil schemes are more the work of an unstable mind than an inherently vicious one. In a suitably ironic turn, after this, Doom would build one of his iconic Doom masks to hide his scar, and then make it much worse by placing the red-hot mask onto his skin, making the scarring a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts. Number 2. Court of Owls. In the fun kind of family surprises saved exclusively for Star Wars, Shakespeare plays and comics, it is revealed that the first Court of Owls assassin sent to kill Bruce Wayne is actually Dick Grayson's great-grandfather. Something it's unclear if the assassin knew this while trying to murder his offspring's mentor. On perhaps a slightly more important note, this reveal does make it clear that all of the Talon assassins are, in fact, long-dead members of Gotham's former upper class, which makes for a genuinely shocking surprise. In the reveal of one person, a major plot point in the city has been revealed, spanning back to the very beginning of Gotham's history. There are many reasons that the Court of Owls storyline should be considered one of the better Batman comics, but the effort taken in making a genuinely thrilling reveal of a villain's identity has to come top of that list. And number 1, the Heretic. When it's casually mentioned that the Heretic is a recent clone of Damian, you naturally assume that the two of them are identical, or that the villain is an aged-up Damian given his larger build. Then the Heretic's face armor is broken open, and you have to come to terms with the fact that he legitimately has the face of a baby Damian, which suddenly makes his gruesome injury seem a whole lot less deserved. There's something totally unnerving about the fact that Talia al Ghul clearly cared so little for the clone that she gave him an adult's body and the face of a preschooler, and it makes you have a surprising amount of sympathy for the person who brutally killed Damian Wayne. When Batman's immediate reaction to something is, God, no, then you know whatever it is has to be seriously messed up. And the face of a baby missing an eye with a man's body is definitely that, even for the often grim and macabre pages of Batman comics. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 unbelievable times that comic book villains were unmasked. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work. It'd be great to see you over there. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.